I'm Zin. Welcome to a week of my life as an aspiring artist and small business owner. This video is going to be all voiceovers this time because I have been feeling quite exhausted from prior social events and just didn't feel comfortable talking at the camera. I also find that sometimes I have more to say later as I look back at what I've been doing than trying to find the words in front of a camera. For this week, I finally gotten to the point where I feel confident enough in opening an online shop for the products I've made thus far. I spent a good amount of time printing and cutting out stickers with the materials that I finally settled on, also purchasing shipping supplies and organizing all of that, setting up the shop site, taking product photography, and dealing with whatever business, tax, and legal stuff that is needed to start selling online. All of that takes a lot more time than you'd expect, but I've also found time to paint, so you'll get to enjoy watching the painting process too. I've been talking about wanting to be a small business owner ever since I started really making YouTube videos. It's something I've wanted for the past 16 years and something I've tried to build 4 years ago in 2021. I failed back then, and it was mostly because the things I created just wasn't good. Like, I wouldn't buy it myself. But that attempt wasn't a complete failure. I learned a lot about what is needed to start an online shop and what it is that I really needed to work on. I also collected a lot of tools and supplies back then with the income that I had, which does help me now that I'm still unemployed and all the costs are coming out of my savings. So, with the realization that I needed to work on my art skills and techniques more, I've been working hard for the past 6 months to create as much as I can without burning out. And no, I did not spend all my possible waking moments creating. I was actually coming from a very hard burnout from working in corporate and then getting laid off back to back, followed by continual struggles of trying to find employment again. So, my journey started off spending 2 to 3 hours a day drawing, painting, or doing something creative. The last thing I wanted was to get burnt out from making art immediately. My time spent making art increased as I felt better and more confident in what I was doing. Soon, I was spending 8 to 10 hours a day for 4 to 5 days a week making and creating. Eventually, I made doodles where I would actually want to see as stickers. So my art creating time became split with making stickers, figuring out the business side of things, and continuing to make art. For those interested, because I manufacture in-house, I only make a small inventory of less than 10 stickers per design. I can easily make more to order when needed, but I'm not going to waste a bunch of material and time if things don't sell. I'm proud to say that I finally launched my shop on Shopify and Etsy. For domestic shoppers in the USA, please check out my Shopify for more affordable shipping options. And for international shoppers, please check out my Etsy. I believe Germany is the only place I have not fully set up shipping to, due to the certain VAT, legal, or permit requirements that they have for sellers. These are the stickers that you can get right now. So my shop has been open for almost a week as of posting this video. I'm not surprised and I was expecting this, but I've had no orders. I'm not exactly the best at marketing and I don't actually have a big following. I also know many people nowadays just have stopped spending as much due to all the shit that's happening in the world. So instead of feeling bad and taking this as a negative thing, I reassured myself that it takes time to build interest and I should work on making more products. Eventually, I like to make more than just stickers like bookmarks, notepads, and letter sets. And maybe I'll develop a more unique style too. This painting is called Anthurium. The reason is basically my lack of creative imagination with words. The plant featured in this painting is an Anthurium. I adopted it from a friend when they moved out of state. It's got really beautiful big leaves and blooms a very vibrant red flower. But over the past couple years, it's struggled to survive from multiple moves and inconsistent temperatures. I almost gave up on it, and basically all the flowers died, and only two leaves were left. Both of those leaves got sunburned, and it wasn't until one day I decided to move it to this nook. It gets bright morning light, and temperatures are more stable even during the cold nights. This nook is at the top of the stairs of my house, so every morning I would greet Anthurium and appreciate how beautiful the lighting is. That's what inspired me to create this painting. As a photographer, I really appreciate amazing natural lighting greatly, and I've wanted to bring that into my paintings. So this was a really fun and very satisfying challenge from all the landscape work that I've been doing. This painting is also available as a 5x7 print on my shop. A surprise change in scenery! Over the weekend, my friends and I went cherry picking. This was my first time, and I thought I'd bring you all along. I really love the clips and the photos I was able to take. My partner and I ended up bringing home about 13 pounds of cherries. Some were gifted to friends, but honestly, between the two of us, we ate most of it. I did attempt to dehydrate some because our toaster oven slash air fryer combo unit had a dehydration setting, and I've never done this before, so it seemed like a fun experiment, but after a full day I was kind of tired of how long it took, and then the sound of the oven running and then worrying over it burning if I let it run overnight. I think it only dried about 40% through when I stopped the process, and I've kind of just been eating these partially dehydrated cherries with oatmeals in the morning, which actually tasted quite good. But I don't think I'll be dehydrating anything again. I got an idea to make my next collection be cherry based. So I started painting cherries with watercolors as a practice session. At the farm, I had picked a bundle of cherries that was still connected to the branch with leaves, and I thought it would make a really beautiful still life. Unfortunately, it was really hot that day, and it sat in our really hot car for too long, so the leaves were wilty by the time we got home, and it didn't really make for an interesting still life anymore. I also made the mistake of not taking photos when it still looked at its best. I still enjoyed painting the leaves, actually more so than painting the cherries itself. It's always fun to work with watercolors after using gouache for so long. Though I always have to remember to leave highlights as the paper and not use the whites on top. Unfortunately, after painting a page of cherries, I just didn't really feel inspired to paint more cherries, so I didn't continue with this collection idea. Maybe I'll pick it up in the future sometime. During one of my doom scrolling sessions, I came across this reel by C Pixie Designs and thought it was a really smart way to test the different print outputs and see which setting actually outputted the most accurate color. Before, I had been printing out full color chart sheets using the setting of the paper that it dictates. So matte paper for matte paper and glossy paper for glossy paper and so on. The only thing I did differently, besides using a different graphic, is that I'd set the printer size setting to exactly what the paper is. This is because I have learned that if you try to run glossy paper with the matte paper setting, it will jam. And if you put matte paper, like a thick matte paper with a plain paper setting, it will cause indents into the paper. So I'm taking a highly educated guess because I've never fact-checked this, but my printer's paper setting affects how the paper is actually fed. It probably doesn't affect the color output. Overall, did I really need to do this? Not really. The results ended up being pretty much what I already knew. And for the papers I have, the settings I was already using ended up being the best quality. However, I did enjoy the process. I love having these reference sheets just to look at. Also, I now have a better and more complete color-accurate charts to compare between different papers. If you're new to home printing on paper that's not just plain paper, this would be an interesting and informative exercise to learn about your printer in the different settings. In reality, I spent a lot of time doing these prints because I was struggling to take good product photography of my stickers and just really needed something else to do that I know would give me results. To end the week, as I do most weeks now, is more video editing. Of all the different social media apps I've tried, making YouTube videos is the one thing I probably won't drop anytime soon. I've dropped quite a few others, including Twitch streaming, since they just didn't bring me joy in the long run and interfered with recording better clips for YouTube videos. I do hope you enjoy this video. If you did, let me know in the comments below. Of course, as per marketing rules and suggestions, I must also ask you to leave a thumbs up and consider subscribing so you can get notified when my next video drops. Also, please check out my online shop. I've got stickers and prints ready to ship. Links will be in the description below.